simplicity and truth, albeit not all are known to us, and therefore also a fixed and immutable order. Political theology is not a neutral category. In this case, as always, it is necessary to analyze the research tools, bringing to light their presuppositions and implications. 2. In a famous passage, The Prince, Chapter 6, Machiavelli pays an ambiguous tribute to Moses and his great master, comparing him with more or less mythical sovereigns of secular antiquity. However, to come to those who have become rulers through their own ability and not through luck or favor, I consider that the most outstanding were Moses, Cyrus, Romulus, Theseus, and others of that stamp. And although one should not discuss Moses, because he was merely an executor of what had been ordained by God, yet he should be admired, even if only for that favor which made him worthy to speak with God. But let us consider Cyrus, and others who have acquired or founded kingdoms. They will all be found remarkable, and if their actions and methods are considered, they will not appear very different from those of Moses, who had such a great master. Moses, Cyrus, and Theseus return at the end of The Prince, Chapter 26, when Machiavelli evokes the present situation of Italy. More enslaved than the Hebrews, more oppressed than the Persians, more scattered than the Athenians. Machiavelli recalls the miraculous signs that accompanied the exodus of the Hebrews from Egypt. Very unusual events, which are signs from God, have recently been observed here. The sea has opened. A cloud has shown you the way. Water has flowed from the rock. Manna has rained down here. The reference implicit in this coolly rhetorical outburst was the miraculous election of the Cardinal Giovanni de' Medici, who became Pope Leo X. Obviously, we are far removed from Pascal. For him, miracles, something God alone, the God of the Bible, not of the philosophers, could perform, possessed a profound, literal, existential significance. But at the same time, as we heard in the fragment cited, for Pascal, the miracle was comparable to the exception to the political and moral rule, hence to Machiavelli's nevertheless. Chapter 7 is devoted to an analysis of Pascal's reading of Machiavelli. 3. The first seminar in which I had the good fortune to participate was Arsenio Frugoni's on Il Principe at the Scuola Normale di Pisa in 1957 to 1958. I was 18. Almost 50 years later, in January 2002, I read The Prince with my students at UCLA. The choice of this subject, following the attack on the Twin Towers of September 11, 2001, seemed obvious. Secularization was an open problem which demanded reflection. In the months preceding the seminar, I began to explore the possible link between Machiavelli and casuistry, a research scheme possibly triggered, without me having realized it, by the gesture with which Benedetto Croce dismissed it, after having evoked it. The research program outlined in Chapter 1 has been pursued in the subsequent chapters from different, partial angles, but not, I hope, irrelevant ones. Also a discussion, here virtually absent, of Machiavelli and the Republican tradition will, if I am not mistaken, have to settle accounts with the interpretation proposed here. Over the years, this research trajectory has intersected on the one hand with the coordination of a project on the comparative history of casuistry funded by the International Balzan Prize Foundation, and on the other with the invitation to deliver the Tantor lectures at Harvard. In both instances, I presented the results of my research on Pascal's Provincial Letters and their echoes. Machiavelli drew me towards Pascal, including the Pascal who was a reader of Machiavelli, the most religious Machiavelli referred to, as we shall hear in Chapter 9, by a reader of the Provincial Letters. Pascal, Machiavelli. The following essays have been partially rewritten, especially the 7th. Original publication details are as follows. 4 of the essays have not previously been published. 1. Machiavelli. L'eccezione e